Ever tried designing a DNA construct? Talk about a headache, am I right?
Yeah, it can feel like you're walking through a maze blindfolded. So many different moving parts, so many places where things can go wrong.
And so much time spent just trying to get everything organized before you even start the actual work.
Exactly. But what if I told you there was a tool that could take all that hassle away? A way to design DNA constructs faster, easier, and without needing a PhD. That's what we're diving into today with TeselaGen Community Edition.
This is one of those tools that's so cool because it's tackling a real pain point in the biotech world.
For sure. The idea behind TeselaGen is to create this, well, it's like a virtual lab bench
Yeah.
where you have everything you need to design and even simulate DNA constructs all in one place.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So the TeselaGen brochure describes it as a unified platform for DNA design. What exactly does that mean? Break it down for us.
So traditionally, you'd have to use a bunch of different software tools for each step of the process. One for designing the DNA sequence itself, another for figuring out how to actually assemble all the pieces, another for designing the primers you need for PCR. It's a lot.
Yeah, I can only imagine the frustration and the potential for errors.
Oh, absolutely. You're juggling files, switching between programs, and it's so easy for something to slip through the cracks. But TeselaGen brings all of that together into one streamlined platform.
Streamlined meaning less room for error.
Right, exactly. And think about it, time is precious, especially in research. This streamlined workflow means that scientists and researchers can spend less time wrestling with software and more time, actually doing science.
Music to any researcher's ears. So less admin, more actual lab work. One of the features they highlight is this idea of visual editing. Instead of wrestling with lines of code, you can actually see what you're doing with the DNA sequence.
It's amazing. I think anyone who's ever had a look at lines and lines of genetic code can appreciate this. With TeselaGen, you're not just looking at a bunch of letters. You have a visual representation of the DNA molecule right there on your screen.
So you can literally drag, drop, edit, kind of like you would in a design program.
Exactly. You can move things around, swap segments, make sure everything fits perfectly.
That's so intuitive. And this visual approach, I'm guessing it helps to catch those potential errors early on.
Absolutely. It's so much easier to spot a problem when you can actually see it rather than trying to decipher it in lines of code. And trust me, catching those errors early can save you a ton of time and headaches down the line.
For sure. Now, there's one feature that really blew my mind when I was reading about TeselaGen, and that's the automated protocol generation. Is this as amazing as it sounds?
Honestly, it might even be better. So you input the DNA parts you want to assemble, and TeselaGen, based on the cloning method you choose, like Gibson assembly or Golden Gate cloning.
Which, by the way, for our listeners who aren't familiar with those techniques, we'll be sure to link to some resources in the show notes.
Definitely. But yeah, TeselaGen will actually spit out a step-by-step protocol for you. It tells you exactly what reagents you need, what temperatures to use, how long to run each step. It's pretty incredible.
Okay, so it's not just any old generic protocol, though, right? I mean, it's taking into account the specifics of my DNA sequence, the enzymes I need to use.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where it really shines. It factors in things like compatible restriction enzyme sites.
Sorry to interrupt, but for those of us who haven't memorized our enzymes, could you give us a little refresher?
Sure. Restriction enzymes, they're basically like little molecular fizzers that cut DNA at very specific sequences. So when you're assembling DNA fragments, you need to make sure those cut sites line up so that everything gets pieced together correctly.
And that's where TeselaGen steps in and makes sure those molecular scissors are cutting in just the right spot.
Exactly. And it can even suggest optimal enzyme combinations to use based on cost and efficiency. So it's not just about getting the job done. It's about doing it in the smartest way possible.
That's incredible. It's really like having this expert molecular biologist looking over your shoulder, guiding you through every single step.
Right. And that level of automation, I mean, you can shave weeks, if not months, off a project. And for labs working on a tight budget, that translates to some serious cost savings as well.
Speaking of saving time and headaches, the TeselaGen brochure quotes Dr. Joshua Heazlewood from the University of Melbourne. He says his students were amazed by how easy it was to use TeselaGen and how quickly they could generate these detailed protocols. That ease of use seems like a game changer, especially for students who might be new to this whole world of DNA design.
Oh, absolutely. I think back to when I was first learning about all of this and how intimidating it was. Having a tool like TeselaGen would have been a game changer.
For sure, it really lowers the barrier to entry for anyone who wants to explore this field. And it's not just for beginners either. Even seasoned researchers can appreciate having a tool that just makes their lives easier and their work more efficient.
Right. And to make the whole process even smoother, from design all the way to actually ordering the materials you need, TeselaGen even has built-in tools for primer design and cost estimation.
So you can go from idea to experiment all within the same platform. It's like the ultimate one-stop shop for all your DNA needs.
Pretty much. And then to top it all off, there's this online sequence library.
Okay, tell me more about that, because I know for a lot of researchers, managing data and collaborating with others can be a whole other beast.
Oh, absolutely. So this library is basically a secure, cloud-based storage system for all your DNA designs. You can access them from anywhere, share them with collaborators, and it even allows for real-time collaboration on projects.
So no more emailing massive files back and forth or trying to figure out who has the latest version.
Exactly. Everything's right there, neatly organized and accessible. It's great for reproducibility, too. You could easily go back and see exactly what was done, which is so important for scientific rigor.
Absolutely. So if we were to step back and look at the bigger picture here, what has TeselaGen Community Edition accomplished? What's the impact here?
For me, it's about democratizing access to these incredibly powerful biotech tools. Students, startups, researchers, and smaller labs, they can all leverage this technology to pursue groundbreaking ideas without breaking the bank.
It's amazing to think about the potential. It's, like you said earlier, time is precious, especially in research. And this tool allows researchers to focus on what matters most, pushing the boundaries of science and making those groundbreaking discoveries.
Absolutely. And with tools like TeselaGen becoming more readily available, who knows what the future holds for biotech? It's an incredibly exciting time to be in this field.
It really is. So for anyone listening who's ever felt daunted by DNA design or maybe felt like it was out of reach, I highly recommend checking out TeselaGen Community Edition. It's free, it's user-friendly, and it might just change the way you approach this amazing field.
I completely agree. It's a game changer for sure.
Well, on that note, we'll wrap things up here. Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive into TeselaGen. We'll be back next time with another fascinating topic from the world of science and technology. Until then, happy designing.